Hi there, I am Holly McDonald with the Costa Mesa Pod, where we discuss all things concerning the lifestyle, businesses, and activities that make our area such a great place to live. Today I'm super excited. My guest is Tony. He's with a company called PadSplit, and PadSplit is going to be revolutionizing housing, and I think it's going to be meeting the needs that a lot of people are expressing. I'm seeing it across the board on some of my platforms, Costa Mesa Buzz. I'm just seeing so many people struggling with housing and wanting to stay in our area. So when I met with Tony and found out more about this concept, I thought, oh my gosh, we have to get together and just share what the future could look like. So Tony, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so let's just start very basic.
Sure.
What is PadSplit? How would you describe it?
So basically, PadSplit, our mission, our goal is to help solve the affordable housing crisis. So that's a big topic, with any administration that's been going on for the past, 12, 15 years of solving the affordable housing crisis. So that's what we do. We are basically a two-sided marketplace. Okay, we're very much like an Airbnb or Uber. So we provide the members or tenants onto the platform. And then on my end, I work as a U.S. Host advisor, and I work with investors and owners on putting properties onto the platform to PadSplit.
Okay.
So that's it in a nutshell, and then we can kind of get into how do people PadSplit and all that stuff. So. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and so let's talk about it. I was doing a deep dive on the website last night, which is it's a really good resource.
Thank you.
It has a ton of questions and information and things you wouldn't even think about.
Right.
I feel like you addressed a lot of concerns quite well.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just kind of breaking into Southern California, Orange County specifically.
Right.
Where are some of the other places where PadSplit has been really successful so far?
Okay. First and foremost, PadSplit's been around since 2018.
Okay.
Okay, so started in Atlanta, Georgia, and as of now, we have about 40 major cities that PadSplit considers core markets. So getting back to your question, so we're in 40 major cities all across the United States, and I have a counterpart, Devin, who's launching in the LA area, Inland Empire area. But while I'm here in California, I'm spreading the good word of PadSplit in the Orange County and then also San Diego markets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that what I see and hear from clients all the time is I hear from parents of children who think that their kids are never going to be able to afford to buy here, and that they're all going to move to another state where it's more affordable. I hear from the people who want to potentially buy that it feels impossible and out of reach, and they're spending so much on rent that how will they ever be able to afford to buy? And how could they afford to live alone? Or there's a lot of uncertainty because we are in a very expensive market.
Yep.
I think it's relative. Anywhere you live, cost of living is quite high right now.
It is. Unfortunately, wages haven't kept up with the cost of living. So, that's where the affordability comes into place. Prime example, my kids, one lives out with us in Austin. So I'm originally from Hawaii, moved to Southern California or Orange County. I've been here for about 20 years. And then about 5 years ago, I moved to Austin, Texas. But getting back to my son, he moved with us to Austin, and it's hard for him to afford rents. So especially he's a comedian.
Okay.
On a comedian salary, entertainer salary, you can't really, support yourself on that. So an alternative for him was PadSplit, and what we basically do is we're focusing on SROs, which is single resident occupants. It's actually one of the fastest growing demographics in regards to renters right now. It's not your traditional, families or, two people, husband and wife. It's actually the SRO, the single resident occupants that are looking for places to live and work within their community. And as you were pointing out, it's too expensive. You can't afford to live off of, $50,000, $60,000 per year or $21 an hour in order to survive or live and work in the cities, because the average studio is anywhere from like $1,461 all the way up to like $1,700, maybe even $2,000 in major metros like LA, New York, or even Orange County.
Costa Mesa.
Costa
Yeah,
Mesa, right.
I know it's very expensive.
So so what we're doing is we're renting out by the room.
Okay.
So that's our business model. We rent out by the room, and we're taking a traditional single-family rental, right, and we're turning it into multifamily returns. So there's a lot that we can unpack there. So.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I want to hit on next. So you're taking single-family homes, you're taking the rooms, you're making multiple rooms that you're renting out, but you're also kind of converting the space a bit to accommodate more renters.
Correct.
Yeah, talk about that.
So we're taking underutilized space and we are creating bedrooms, because the more bedrooms that you have into your property, the more money that you're making. So the more cash flow that you're doing. It sounds like, whoa, what's going on here? Some investors or people kind of wrap their head around it, going like, oh, this is horrible that you're squeezing more rooms into a place and you're just renting it out. But that's not the case. I mean, if you walk into our properties, they're very well curated. They're put together thoughtfully, so it doesn't feel like you're in a sardine can or anything like that. We have obviously minimal standards that we meet in regards to fire code and square footage for FHA rules. So you're looking at, I consult with my investors having their rooms at least be 100 square feet.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, yes, you're either sharing a bathroom or you have a private bathroom. So obviously with the private bathrooms, they go for a little bit more money. They're actually the quickest ones to get rented out.
Yeah.
And then on the shared bathroom space, what we normally do is I consult with my investors to have a 4-to-1 ratio, 4 bathroom or 4 bedrooms to share a 1 bathroom. But if they can do a 3-to-1, that's even better, because you want to think about occupancy and longevity and tenure in your property. And that helps out with that. So
it's really not much different than dorm life in a lot of cases,
it's
right?
exactly what it is. So when investors ask me, I just basically say that it's dorm style living for adults.
Yes.
Okay. So as an investor, what you're responsible for is furnishing the room, and we have host advisors all across the United States that will assist you with what type of furniture to buy, how to decorate the property. But the minimal thing is, the bedroom size, which is at least a full-size bed, a mattress pad frame, and then a desk and a chair, ceiling fan, and then also a electronic lock on the door.
Yeah, I mean, this is just like throwing me back into the college mentality, right?
Sure.
Like they give you a bed, they give you a dresser, and then you make it your own, right?
Correct.
It sounds like yours are much nicer though.
They're very well curated. Yeah.
Yes, more like almost a hotel dorm.
Yeah, it kind of emulates this podcast studio.
Yeah.
Same thing. Even, just taking a look at this podcast studio, if the living room cannot be converted into a bedroom, we normally like this style of furniture, 2 lobby style furnitures with a coffee table type of thing, because we discourage having couches on the property and comfortable, big couches and TVs, because the residents or the members aren't allowed to have guests come over anyway. So we try to minimize conflict that way.
So how are the tenants responding to that type of a rule? So is that leading to just people spending more time outside of the property to for communal space and whatnot? How are tenants enjoying this type of setup?
So they are walking in with the expectation of PadSplit that you're not allowed to have guests anyway. So that's already a mindset that they have.
Yeah.
So there are co-living properties that do cater to more of a communal space, type of co-living environment. But with PadSplit, it's not. It's single resident occupants. They are looking for a place, one, for affordability, that's clean, and then a nice place to lay their head on to go to sleep. So it's not a place where people are gathering, and hey, the soccer game or FIFA match is going on this weekend. Do you want to cook and have a party or anything like that? It does turn into that sometimes, but most of the time it's not. The residents, if you were to walk into a PadSplit property, you wouldn't even think that nobody was living there because everybody just stays kind of confined to the room and they just, eat or, take care of their stuff in their room. So.
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense. And so what happens with a yard space if there is one?
Yeah, so we do have some with yard spaces. I mean, some people have, fire pits. Some people have pools. Not really high on the list as far as, what residents are looking for. But on the conversion part, if you do have that, no problem. We'll work around it. But, for the most part, it's just a yard space where people can kind of maybe hang out or, if they do smoke or something like that, they do that, outside. But, getting back to your question on that, a lot of short-term rentals have actually converted into PadSplits because the short-term rental market's very challenging right now. It's not, cash flowing. People don't have the discretionary income. So there are people that in the short-term rental space that have, pools or they have, fire pits and they're like, hey, Tony, what should I do with this? And keep it there. But, our main focus is converting the property into more bedrooms if you can do that.
So let's talk a little bit about money. There's a lot of stuff I would love to pick your mind about, but on the website I saw some really interesting data about the cost for the owner of the property, how much they would get if they rented it out as a standard house.
Correct.
To either a family or somebody who wants the regular bedroom setup versus converting it to more bedrooms.
Awesome.
By the room.
Yeah. So I'll lean onto you for this. I mean, you can tell me straight out, and we'll use Orange County as an example.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
That's okay with you. So, acquisition in Orange County, I'm gonna, say in the Garden Grove or Westminster area. Are you kind of familiar with that, or can we talk about that?
I can talk about that, or I can talk about Costa Mesa since it's a Costa Mesa pod, but whatever you want.
Okay. So I just want to bring in numbers that maybe make sense for an investor. Because with Costa Mesa, acquisition costs in Costa Mesa. Too high, right? So what's the acquisition in Costa Mesa? About 1.8?
You could get a little bit under, but
1.4?
Probably like 1.4, 1.5 if you just got like a basic 4-bed, 2-bath.
Yeah. So that might not work out.
So Garden Grove,
Orange, maybe Santa Ana, which is crazy because 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you could pick up in Santa Ana for a very reasonable, under $1 million, right?
Yeah.
Now you're looking at 1.1, 1.2 maybe, right? So I'm just going to use that for example, right? So, how much would it be to rent a 3 or 4 bedroom property that's about 2,000 square feet in your expert opinion?
In that area, I'd say like $4,500.
Okay, so $4,500,
yeah.
Right? So if you're so the PadSplit business model is we're adding, bedrooms. So you're converting a 4-bedroom or 3-bedroom property that's 2,000 square feet into like a 6, 7, and sometimes 8 or 9-bedroom property. Okay, so let's just keep it safe and not safe, but let's just say it's an 8-bedroom property that we're converting it to.
Okay.
And that's pretty reasonable. Just from my expertise, or working with a lot of investors, that's what I coach my investors on a buy box. So if they can find a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2-bath property, or 2.5 property, that's 2,000 square feet. You can generally bring that up to about an 8-bedroom property.
Okay, and then you'd have like 3 or 4 rooms sharing a bathroom if it's a 2 or 3 bath house. Okay.
Correct. So at what is it, $4,500 you were saying, or $4,000 per month, right? Is for that to rent on a traditional single family rental.
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you think the mortgage on that would be? Anywhere from about $7,400, right? Would you say, or $6,900?
Yeah, I was gonna say 7.
Okay, so yeah, $7,000. So just there alone, like you cannot cash flow on that property, right? There is no that traditional, debt service, that 1-to-1 ratio of that rule of if you're renting out a property and your mortgage is the same at 1-to-1, right?
Yeah.
Then it's great, but as of right now, like what's going on with interest rates and taxes, unfortunately, that's not happening, right? So that $4,500 rental, you're negative whatever $2,500 because your mortgage is $7,000.
Right.
So with PadSplit, what we're doing again is adding bedrooms. So you're taking that to what I said, an 8-bedroom property. Okay, at 8 bedrooms, traditionally, you'll be able to get on the average anywhere from $1,600 maybe up to $2,000 per room, depending if it's a private, shared. So simple math, if you take, $1,800 times, eight rooms, you're looking at, what is it, like about $9,600 on your gross, okay?
So like double.
Okay, so you're doubling that 4,500 to like whatever 9,000 or 9,600
Wow.
after your payments of the 8% to PadSplit, and we'll get into what we do,
Okay.
that how we collect or why we charge at 8%, but it makes sense, like just financially, just penciling out off the top of our head,
Sure.
like that $4,500 versus $9,600 gross sounds much better, and it's more palatable for investors. Especially, I love the Orange County market. I love the California market because of two things. One, great rents,
Yeah.
right? Especially for PadSplit. And on the flip end, as we all have experienced, is the equity.
Yeah.
You can't argue or you cannot challenge California equity anywhere across the United States unless it's in like like New York and like whatever, the Greenwich Village or beach towns or something like that. But California through and through has just been phenomenal in regards to equity gains, right?
Right. Well, and also I would say that there's a strong demand for renters.
Correct.
Yeah, which is
That's another
obviously
thing.
going to help the investors and solve the problem of where are the renters going to
Exactly.
go. Yeah.
So yeah, great point. So with that being said, on the rental side, what we're seeing in LA, my counterpart Devin has done a phenomenal job there. They're operating at about a 93% occupancy rate.
Oh, wow. That's
That's
really good.
very
Yeah.
high. As you pointed out, there is big demand for that. I mean, the past month, the searches because through our website, we own the search words, or Google search words, room for rent. So we gather all that data up, and just in the past, month and a half, there are over 10,000 searches for room for rent. So
Oh, wow.
it's but the flip side for investors, which is great, is that there are not enough rooms to fulfill that. So with that being said, I think that there's just going to be a big gap and big need for room for rent, and PadSplit can help fill that void. And with investors working with them, I think that you'll be hitting the numbers all across. So.
Yeah. And then you just kind of threw out there the 8%. So now as part of your services, then you are facilitating getting the people in the door and doing the rental payments and all of that, right?
Mhm.
Because I think that for a lot of people, they're either going to be paying a management company anyway,
Correct.
or they're not going to want to have to deal with, I've got 8 rooms to rent out and like who's in this room and who am I getting, so you're
Yeah.
handling all of those
So
logistics.
dealing with co-living, right?
Yeah.
So what I like to say is, co-living, PadSplit doesn't make co-living easy. We make it more efficient.
Mhm.
So it's all done through our PadSplit app.
Okay.
Okay, and there are 4 major buckets, and I'll come with the 5 of what we do to help out the investors and why we make this such a palatable thing. For the first thing that we do is our marketing. Okay, so we spend close to $2 million per month
Oh my gosh.
on Google SEO search. Okay,
$2 million a month.
so $2 million a month.
So we know this works because
Yes,
yes.
yeah. So when I started with the company, it was at, I think it was under $1 million at 800,000. And I've been with the company close over 2.5 years, and it went from 800,000 to now 2 million. So that's also because of the growth in each city, right? But we take that 2 million and then we spread it out towards in the different areas that we're in. And what we do is we own the search words room for rent. So if you were to type in room for rent in LA or room for rent in soon like San Diego or
Yeah.
Orange County, right? The first couple pages of that search are PadSplit properties. Okay, so not necessarily PadSplit by itself, but we also have partnerships with major listing services such as Roomies, Zumper, RentLinks. So
Okay.
we have a team that lists for you, and then we also have exclusive partnerships with Furnish Finder.
Oh,
And
mhm.
with also Zillow Room for Rent. So
Oh,
we spend
Zillow
our
has room for rent
yeah,
too.
so
Okay.
they have a Zillow Room for Rent marketing piece. But so we have partnerships with them. So from there, you get a 90% occupancy rate, 85 to 90% occupancy rate across the United States. So
Nice.
that's the first thing we do is we help fill the rooms for you. Okay. Second thing that we do for you, or for the investors, is we vet the clients for you, or we vet the members for you. We screen them for you. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So we make sure there's no criminality. Okay. We make sure there's no more than 2 evictions in the past 7 years. We verify their income. Okay. So as a result of that, we have a 97% collection rate.
Okay. I
So-
think I also saw on the website that there is no requirement for not social security, sorry, for FICO score.
For FICO score, yeah.
Okay.
So we do a soft, a soft check on it. Sometimes we do, but that doesn't, move the needle in regards to, you have to have a minimum this and minimum that, because the barrier of entry it negates that.
Well, and I think a lot of potential tenants appreciate that
They
too,
do.
because that has become really challenging for
It
some
has.
people to just even have a place to put a roof over their head.
Especially with what's going on with layoffs or debt as
Yeah.
far as credit card.
Debt and
It's
college.
scary.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it's the reality that we're living in. So so we do not put a screen for that, and then also we don't say there's a minimum that you have to stay in a PadSplit for this amount of time. And then also you don't have to come up with a first and last for your traditional rentals. So that's the other thing that we do. So 2 things to recap: we market for you, we find the guests for you. The other thing we do is we collect the rents for you. Okay, so could you imagine having 8 rooms and then having to collect rents? It's kind of
Exactly.
So we do that all electronically, right?
Okay.
So people ask, well, how do I get paid on that stuff? So we make it very simple. We take all forms of payment for our members. Okay. So let's take for this month. So by July 31st, we aggregate all of those rents that we collect for you.
Uh-huh.
And then we have it by August 10th, which is the next month. So maybe a little bit sooner, maybe August 7th or 8th. We minus our 8%, so that's what we charge, and then we disperse that into your bank account.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the last thing that we do to make it easy is our app. Okay, so it's member-to-member management services. So a couple things with that. Member-to-member management services. The investor signs a lease with PadSplit, an exclusive lease with PadSplit, and we manage the contracts for you. So you don't have to worry about contracts on that. So we manage all that stuff for you. So we have what's called member agreements to the members of our property. So if you took a notice of my language,
Yeah.
it's not tenants, it's members, okay? They're kind of like members of a gym, to kind of put it in layman's terms.
Sure.
So that's that. But through the app, they can communicate with you, you can communicate with them. We want to have everything localized or put into that app so that you're not scrambling going oh, call me on my cell phone or text me on this. We want a running record as far as
Smart.
how everything is happening, so that you have that one source of doing everything on the app. So it makes it much easier for you to communicate with them. They communicate with you. So let's say dishwasher's broken, or
Yeah.
Cleaners coming on August 15th, get ready for that, so you can have that chance. But on the flip side of that, the members and you also rate each other. So this is a funny one, because it's kind of like a Yelp rating, right?
Uh-huh.
So let's say there's quiet hours on the property from 11 p.m. to 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. in the morning, and Tony is being too loud, right?
Yeah.
I am being, playing my music loud or whatever. So that next week, if I get stars from, let's say, you rate me, and all of a sudden, 3 of the other pad mates, as we like to call them, give me 2 stars, then they will message me going hey, Tony, if you don't get your stars up, we're either going to fine you or you're going to remove from the property. So
Yeah.
that's how we keep kind of everybody honest and knowing what's going on. Same thing, no violence, no criminality, all that stuff. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
You had recently come to a networking event that I did, and
Yes.
somebody had asked me, or asked you, about what happens if somebody doesn't pay or won't leave. And so since you were talking about the language, I would love to hear from you about how that works. And comes into play.
So I'm not an attorney. I just want to preface that out there. I mean, real estate law is very complicated and especially here in California with it being, tenant friendly and all that stuff. But so we do have a threshold. So if a tenant, like
a member.
Thank you. Yeah. So if a member doesn't pay and it reaches that $300 mark, then they get texted and notified, hey, what's going on? If you don't pay, then you will get removed from the property, and it's the notice to vacate. So we do have to, adhere to tenant laws as far as, removing somebody from the property. But yeah, there is not a button, but a process where you click that, and then the member gets notified that you have 3 or 5 days to move out of the property. If they don't, then yes, then a formal eviction takes place. But what I like to point out with PadSplit is that we only have a 1.2% eviction rate.
Okay.
So compared to single family rentals, it's 6.8%. So.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Well, just to recap on a couple of things. So for the tenants, members, it seems that the benefits are that they get a space for a lower amount than they're most likely going to find anywhere else.
Correct.
They don't have to have first and last months. They don't have a term that they need to meet. So it's more flexible.
It is. It's very flexible. I mean, on the average, I've seen anywhere from savings of $340 to $560 a month.
Yeah.
The barrier of entry, they don't have to come in with furniture.
Yeah.
It's already furnished,
That's
right?
great.
They don't have to do a first and last. There's no commitment other than a formal a 90-day commitment, and after that it's week to week.
Okay.
So again, what you're saying, the barrier of entry is much lower, and it allows them to save money. If you take a look at our website or our Instagram, you'll see members getting interviewed or stories, which is great, about what they're doing and how much they're saving and being able to climb out of a debt hole for staying in our property for 2 years because they've committed to it. So there's so many success stories that that we love to share.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then for the owner of the property, the investor, they get the benefit of higher rental income coming through. They have the management side of it through PadSplit, and they're able to kind of make the best and highest use of the property from an investment standpoint.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're turning again that single family rental into multifamily returns. I mean, I have investors that are I have one here that she lives here in Temecula. And her name is Kim Rush. She was looking at different investment strategies and all this stuff, and she latched on a PadSplit. She was actually one of my first clients. And she went from one property up to 17 in about a year and a half.
She probably made some really good returns.
She does. She makes close to $1 million per month in her returns. So
wow.
But her properties are she's a remote investor. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's another thing I kind of want to point out. You don't have to be in California, but she has properties in San Antonio, she's got properties in Atlanta, she's got properties in Phoenix, right? So she actually won our 2025 Expansion Host Award.
Oh, wow.
And she does it right. She's very good. I mean, hi, Kim. You're amazing. So, and then being here in California, in Southern California, I have investors that I'm working with that launched their property in San Diego. So they bought a property in San Diego. They were going to fix and flip it. They found about PadSplit, converted their PadSplit. Within 3 weeks, their property was at 87% occupancy.
Wow.
And they're launching about 5 more properties. So on August 1st, we have a event going on down in Chula Vista. We're going to do a property walkthrough. So
cool.
I'd love to invite you guys, but I'm looking for a property here in Orange County to do. So
okay, we're going to help you with that. I know that this topic, it might touch some nerves for some people in the neighborhoods and whatnot that don't want the single family homes to become like rooming houses.
Right.
The reality is, though, we are in a housing shortage, and there are a lot of people that can't afford to stay. And to meet the need, this is a really great concept. And so I think it's really exciting to meet with you and hear more about it. It really does remind me of the Airbnb meets Uber. it makes sense. It's progress for
It is.
people to be able to stay in beautiful Southern California.
Yeah, and I mean, the people that are coming into the properties are working individuals. They're vetted. They, no criminality. They are truly working individuals. And just take, for example, people are like Uber drivers, people that work in hospitality, people that are your barista that make coffee for you. You think about where are they going to be living? Staff at the city.
Yeah.
People, TSA workers. Believe it or not, teachers.
I know.
In Austin, I had a teacher. He was making $53,000 a year, and he had to live in his car. It's sad. So
it is. I know. I've seen some posts locally. Summer is a hard time for teachers.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's very hard. So we're here to help you out. I mean, and yes, a lot of neighbors are like, I don't want a rooming house next to me, or some of them have that misnomer of this and that. But it's workforce housing, essential workforce housing. It's people that live and work into your city that are essential. I mean, think about it. A lot of people's kids can't, live and work.
And certainly there are probably better locations in terms of where they could be situated that an investor would take into consideration
Absolutely.
too. So,
Yeah.
and those are things that obviously they could talk to you about. So, and I'm excited to talk to you more about this. This could be like a 3-part series.
It could be. I think we're just hitting we could go in different directions, but we're just kind of scratching the surface. But there's so much that we can talk about.
High level, just overview. But so where can people find out more? Tell us the website, the Instagram, all the things.
Yeah, so obviously PadSplit.com, at PadSplit is the Instagram, and there's also one at PadSplit Hosts. If you want to reach me, I'm at Tony Miglio, so TonyMamiglio.
I'll link it.
Yeah. So everything, and then
he's super responsive too on social.
So I'm very responsive. You can reach me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, wherever. I'm there. I'm here to help you guys out. So
yeah, thanks for introducing us to the concept. I do think that with the lack of affordable housing for people in the area, this is a concept that could really revolutionize it for a lot of people.
Yeah, and thank you for having me. And I love Costa Mesa, the east side of Costa Mesa. So if you guys are looking for a property, or she's the man. She's the person. Right?
I'm the one.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for saying that. Well, thanks for joining the podcast today. It's been really eye-opening. I think a lot of people are going to have questions about this, and it does just shed a light on the fact that we do have an issue with finding affordable housing for a lot of people, and just figuring out solutions. It's a good conversation to have. So, see you next time.
Thank you.